Hello and welcome to Coffee and Bonsai with Tom. Today we're going to continue on my series of pruning my pre-bonsai to bonsai variegated portulacaria Afras. This is the third one in the series. If you want more detail on the background of these trees and where I got them and how old they are and all that good stuff, you can see the first video in the series. I will put a link to it in the video description, and you can check that out. So you can see this is a healthy looking tree, and my first idea is just round it off like this. And I think that would work to some degree, but when I'm looking at this tree and I look at the structure of it, um, there's a few things that kind of bother me. If you see, it's got this trunk here to the left and the right, and one up the middle. And I wonder if I were to just take off either side of that, because it has, especially from this angle, it has sort of a U-boat look to it. I mean, it's very much. Um, I'll just cut this off. I didn't get any. That's a Hail Mary cut that bore no fruit. So sometimes if you recut it, you'll get more growth coming on there. But yeah, I'm not. I mean, it's a fine looking plant. I think it's quite beautiful, and I could just profile prune it. But it definitely has many long, straight, well developed and nice bark, but just not all that interesting. So I want to. That's the primary thing I want to address with this is do some structural pruning to make this a tree that I'm excited about. So it's always best to measure twice and cut once. So I really don't like this branch here. And I'm just trying to imagine what it would look like, because if I look at what has a natural flow in the tree, it's definitely not the branches on the outside. So I'm trying to think about, okay, do I want to take one of them off? My general approach is to, remove the ugliest one first, the one that really doesn't belong, and evaluate that, and then just keep repeating that process. So yeah, I mean, I'll warn you, it's probably not going to look like much when we're done, but I think we'll be setting up the tree for a fabulous future, um, you know, as it continues to grow. So yeah, I think this branch on the left is, well, no, yeah, it's on the left, is sort of the least interesting. And so he who hesitates is lost. I think let me just get my cutters ready and let's take this off because I think this tree will be much better off without that branch. And, probably we'll start a cutting there. So just get myself lined up here. And this is really hard. It's very tough to cut through. Very interesting to me. It must be because of, the age of this portulacaria Afra. But yeah, I'll just take this off and we will see what we think. There you go. Look at that. Nice little tree in and of itself. So I always like to clean these up. Um, this is basically a branch cutter, sort of a concave cutter, and I just try to come in here and get close to this and just, try to take it back so it's not unsightly. I've found these ports really heal quite well, especially if you have, green above where you're cutting. They seem to dry out smoothly and heal over, and like within a year you can hardly even tell anything's here. And I think that's a dramatic improvement already. I mean, that was just a confusing branch, and really with that U shape, it just attracted the eye in a bad way. And so I think this is quite a bit better. But now I'm thinking, what if I were to take off this, well, I called it a branch. It's more of a trunk on the right, because you can see they're all, it's got all these branches kind of coming up, and they're all competing with one another. And yeah, I can hide that with foliage, but I really want to start with a decent, trunk structure and kind of build on that. And this, I mean, it's got nice trunks, but they're not in harmony at all. So yeah, and you can see there's just a lot of straight sections all over this tree, and it is really healthy. You can see it's grown really well. So I think it will bounce back and put out new growth um, with some hard pruning. But before I do that, let me just clean this up a little. I mean, I have definitely found, especially a tree like this that's just grown, you're better off clearing up, stuff that's growing the wrong way, branches that are going up, down, prune it back to a couple sets of leaves and just try to get it down to, the foliage that you have a chance of using. And that oftentimes helps a lot in terms of, finding the shape of the tree, the hidden beauty inside this thing. And, it still has a nice overall profile, and in some ways, I know some of you are going to say, oh, it's a shame he's sort of cutting this back to nothing. But, yeah, I mean, we just have a lot of long growth with no taper and very few branches. And I think we'll be much better off fixing that now. And so, in the spirit of that, let's take off another branch. I really want to shorten this because it's just too long and, just looks like a stick. So I'm going to take it right back to here, if I can get um, my tool on there, and take that off. And that's dramatically better. You can see we get a little taper. We're getting some branches in there. And this long section, or sorry, this long section that almost looks like an interstate zooming across the plain is now gone. So your eye isn't immediately drawn to that, and I think it's a big improvement. So yeah, let's keep going before I lose my nerve and do what pretty sure I know I need to do. And that is take off this branch on the right. Yeah, I just want to decide where exactly I want to take it off. And I think we'll start here. Like I wouldn't mind having, a branch come off of this and kind of growing that off to the right, sort of a low branch. And, if it doesn't work out, then I can take that off as well. But I think that's a pretty big improvement. And, you know, we can see we have, another branch here. We still have these three that they're a bit confusing. And, I thought about using this one off the back as kind of the main branch, but I think I'm going to also just take this back and see what happens, see what kind of growth we get out of this, because I really like the taper of that main branch, and you can sort of see a nice triangle forming here. And I think, this is pretty good for a basic structure, and I think when this fills out, we'll just have a lot more options. Yeah, sometimes you have a tree that's just difficult to work with, and I remember when I was more active in the local club, I'd go to the workshops, and I just love those. And oftentimes I just go as an observer, and I highly recommend that. If you can, even if you have to travel to a club, they don't do them all that often. You just learn a ton, and it's great, especially if you have material like this. It's a little challenging to figure out what you want to do with it. Getting lots of different opinions and having some creative discussion about that is just super, super helpful. But I think we're getting close with this. You know, uh, I'm still thinking about this right section. It might be a little. I might want to take it just completely off or shorten it just a bit more. Because I think it's just a little too long. But as I was saying, it's great to bounce ideas off folks and get some input. And, you know, I think if there's any thought for today around this is, if you don't like it, just cut it off and, make yourself happy and just work with what comes out of it. If nothing else, I think this is much more charming looking and, trust me, when we come back and look at this in the fall, I think, or maybe in the spring, you'll see, a lot of these cuts have paid off. But that's about a wrap for today. There's not a whole lot to do in a victory lap, but I want to thank you all for spending time with me and watching this series, and I look forward to seeing you all again very soon.